we have this free-form conversation about spiritual experience, with the idea of talking about it in a way that it can be at the level of the experience as opposed to the content. And you made a comment about your training in Zen and the Makyu.
Yeah, that I still feel a shyness to talk about spiritual experience. That stems from that time whenever we wanted to talk about spiritual experience, whatever that meant, we were taught, shut up, Makyu, it's not important, it's just phenomena. Mm-hmm. Like if you have a vision or see lights or, whatever. Or the saying, if you meet Buddha on the way, kill him. Mm-hmm. That's where that comes from. And but on the other hand, and that's why I'm opening to talking more about it, is that there are also passages that maybe where we should have had a voice. And that partly brings me also again and to Gendlin. We talked about that in the last conversation, where I found that from Jean I learned not to fall silent too early. So I'm bringing both the shyness and the not falling silent too early.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that the shyness is related to that sense that when you talk, you're missing the point, and it's makyu, it's irrelevant, it's not the core of the experience itself. So, and on the other hand, if you don't talk, then maybe you're missing out on something as well.
Yes, and thank you for saying back. It's really helpful. One reason the talking about it is treacherous is that I also trace in me it's seductive to identify with, wow, this happened to me. And that's a hindrance. And yeah.
So something about there's a seduction, something special, an identification.
I'm somebody special having this experience. This is seduction.
Yeah. So I'm somebody special. But on the other hand, if you don't talk, then maybe you're nobody. Or the experience is not as strongly experienced.
This is a very, very... This invites some deeper door right now, what you're saying. There were times in my life where there were openings and there was such a truth in that even if people would have told me this is all rubbish and you're just, it's just make believe, you want this to be a great thing, it was just clear. So it might not be necessary. I'm just sensing into it. I haven't prepared anything for our conversation, so it's a real sensing into it. So that it might not always be necessary, but at some point there were other times where I would have felt it very important if my meditation teacher at that time could have resonated with where I'm coming from. It would have been very helpful, and at certain occasions that the person wouldn't be able to talk.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is the moments where it would have been helpful is if you had spoken, then it would have made it possible for the meditation teacher to resonate with you. And so knowing the experience of how wonderful it can feel to be in resonance, you realize it would have been great to have that resonance at that moment.
Yeah. I suddenly, when you said how wonderful it feels, and thanks for saying it, so the process can correct itself. And that's the spirit when I'm now resonating with you. I guess it's not in the sense of it feels wonderful to resonate or be resonated with, but more a sense of rightness. Can you be with me here?
So something about, it's not about it feels wonderful, but a sense of rightness. Can you be with me here?
Yeah.
So I'm hearing the words, and I'm not really resonating with it. I'm not getting, it feels, except if I'm trying to put my own words to see how I'm relating to it. So, maybe it's like, it feels right. If I hear somebody else resonating with it, there's something that, it feels right.
Yeah, I can give you an instance of that. When I was in the Zen monastery, we did a lot of sitting, I did shikantaza, just sitting, and I had a Christian upbringing, so suddenly there were sayings of the Bible coming up, where I suddenly felt like, this makes complete different sense. I never understood that. Something like, I'm translating from German into English now. The Father and the Son are one. And after a lot of sitting, it was so clear that this is non-duality. That's what it says. It's clear. The Father and the Son are one. I saw it right. There is no separation. And the Zen master I had at the time, he just couldn't at all connect to any Christian content. And I have no judgment about him, why and what, and I don't want to actually. I just felt I would have needed resonance there, and it didn't come.
Yeah. So, as you meditate and your Christian upbringing, your Christian heritage, your notions, suddenly you understand them in a different way in the meditation. And the Father and the Son are one. That's duality. And if you say that to Zen master at the time. It's as if you're speaking to him in Arabic or some language he doesn't understand, because he cannot connect to that. And so he cannot tell you, you get, you're. No?
He didn't want to.
Yeah.
By the way, you said duality. It's non-duality. I meant the Father and the Son are one. That is meant non-duality.
Non-duality. Yeah. But so if he could relate to your experience, it would be you're getting it. That's it. And then it's like he doesn't have a clue what you're talking about.
I wasn't sure whether it was not a clue or also that points a little, I'm only noticing it now, in the direction why I needed to leave traditions. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure whether it also was like, this is a Buddhist monastery, this is not about Christian teachings.
Mm.
So I'm not sure what it was. I'm very cautious here. And I actually paused in the monastery and went to a Zen master who also was a Jesuit in LaSalle was his name, in Tokyo at the time, because I needed somebody to speak to about this. So that's interesting when you ask the question about how language relates to experience. And he was in resonance in Tokyo. Yeah. And I only visited him and then went back to the monastery. And he was very helpful.
So what I'm hearing is that sense of that experience you have on your own. There is a need to resonate. And maybe it's about validating it, maybe it's about feeling it, I'm not sure what it is, but that's also the same reason why, say, one meditates in a monastery as opposed to on their own. There's some kind of a connection to, it's not alone in the experience, but there's also a connection with other human beings, with the community, with the tradition.
That's treacherous. I'm telling you, how can I say this? Yes, there is a connection with tradition, but also with all the boxing in of tradition. With teaching politics, with who sits closest to the master and who has which power and decision making say in it, in this or that. So it's living in a spiritual community is not a pure experience, but very human with all the limitations. So, and the reason I find that this inquiring into experience, letting go of tradition became more and more valuable in my life. It has to do with these politics in traditions. Because I found that difficult after trying it for a long time.
Yeah.
So I find, yes, what I'm looking for now, and I guess that was one of the things that drew me into having a conversation with you here now, is that can there be a way of inquiring?
Excuse me, I need to stop for a second.
Okay. What took me a long time and a lot of courage was finding my way out of traditional contexts, because I found that the relationship with a teacher, for example, or in the monastery, or how I was supposed to behave with other people from other monasteries, were colored, tainted very much by tradition, but in the sense of belittling what there was. And I could sense that, and that's where the focusing comes in. If I sense into the body how all this is, I just could not comply with a lot of the politics that were involved in tradition. There was, it seemed almost to be contrary to some of the truths it was pointing to.
So there's something about the experience of living within a community, so within a tradition. I mean, tradition actually means it's that community. And that community is a group of people who, like all groups of people, are organized and have relationships and rules and politics, and that these politics actually, as you pay attention to the felt sense in the body, you really experience as very constraining, limiting, and almost the exact opposite of the kind of expansion that you're looking for in the spiritual practice.
Or let's say, instead of opposite, I'd rather say hindrance.
Hindrance, yeah.
Yeah. And it took me a long time in exploring, is this what they call an ego trip? Is this just my ego opposing what I'm told? Or is it something deeper? And after a year being in the monastery, I could not deny that I had a sense of I need to follow that inner knowing and leave. Which took a lot of courage to leave, also later leave the Buddhist teaching settings, because it provided a kind of security, you had company with the people on the path, and if you do this and comply with the teachings and, follow what you are advised to do, that you eventually end up an enlightened being.
Yeah.
So letting go of that kind of seemingly secure setting meant that I would need another, let's say, grounding, whatever that means, to fall back on or let go into.
Yeah. So the following, the staying within the tradition and the community, there's something very reassuring about it, in the sense that it's a path that is presented as almost guaranteeing that you then get to the result and the enlightenment. And so it takes a lot of courage to break away from it, because then there is no path and you're on your own.
Yes, and at the same time, part of the tradition, and that was partly why it was hard to let go, is that the Zen master would say, and remember, there is a path and there is no path.
Mm-hmm.
So I was aware that they are not dumb or anything, they are perfectly aware that there is no path.
Mm-hmm.
Even within tradition, they know that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, being a female in Asia in a Zen monastery, I could see how, even in the Mahayana, in the big vehicle, Buddhism vehicle, being born in a female body is not exactly helpful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that collided in me. And when I say collided in me, I'm pointing to the examination that I was for a long time examining what my Zen teacher said. Oh, it's just the ego. It's not about men and women here. Just drop that issue. And that's what I was trying to work at. And then there was a deeper knowing in me, that an opening I had much earlier. Everything is that. So why do we need these restrictions? I just, from a deep sensing, and the double meaning of the word sensing, sense comes here.
Mm-hmm.
Something in me was certain that this angle of tradition just is not true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and it points again to this non-duality. I mean, I know women who stay in the tradition because they're so connected to that absolute ultimate truth that they find it doesn't hinder their progress being females, born in a female body and going on. And there are wonderful examples of women who also in old times, not just modern Buddhist women, who have done incredible things, just from their power of, well, I don't like the word enlightenment, but living the truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But for me, I had to go another way.
Yeah, yeah. So again, I'm hearing something about complexity. It's not that there's something simple in any possible way. Both in terms of the path, that is not a simplistic thing. People know it's not a path. In terms of, being a woman in this. Mm-hmm. And so we could very much say it is very strong experience of not belonging. But you cannot simply say that because you can see how some women actually have been thriving in that. But so what comes up is a sense of really a very heightened sense of your own experience there and the dialogue that exists between the tradition, your experience, in terms of figuring out what's right for you. But not right for you in some kind of an ego way, but that defining about where you belong, and I'm not sure, I have a sense of the words not being right about that, because it's not, I didn't hear you say where you belong. So I'm putting my own words in there. And I have a sense of struggling to kind of find a way to hear what you're saying.
Yeah. That brings me to something I was wondering about before our conversation, that I also felt like, oh, I would like to know, why does Serge want to have a conversation like that? Where is Serge coming from? What are Serge questions into life? And maybe at this moment that might help. Is that okay?
Yeah. So maybe to take the last one, the belonging.
Yeah.
Maybe part of it, maybe I'm putting this word there because it's something that for me is an issue of, so what you're describing, I might see from the angle of the issue for me of belonging, being swallowed if I belong, not belonging and being out. And, and negotiating between wanting to be in and an insider, not feeling like I can be an insider, wanting to be an outsider. So that whole dynamic, and difficulty with that. So, that's probably part of why I'm connecting with you, or I'm seeing things this way. The idea of if you related to insider, outsider, belong, not belong. If I am part of a tradition, then there's something comforting about this is it. And if I'm not, then I might be just bullshitting myself. If I am in a tradition, I know that I personally am not comfortable just being one. I feel like I'm asphyxiating. And it's very important for me, whenever I have studied something, to study something else at the same time, so that I have another point of view and I have a dialogue. So there's a fear for me about, or not even a fear that I'm going to be swallowed, because in a way I'm not going to be, but there's something, but a sense of air, I want the other part, and then I'm able to see two things, and I'm in the middle of a dialogue, and then I feel, like there's some possibility of expanding. So I'm not sure if I'm being too vague or if you're relating to it. Yeah.
That's it. Interesting. So for you, it's like, in a way, you want to belong someplace, but at the same time, you also need to study something else. So you always have at least two perspectives. So you're not completely swallowed up by one way of belonging, but there's always fresh air because you have at least two ways of looking at something. Did I get that right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm referring very specifically to several moments I have studied things, including, trainings, professional trainings, or, philosophical ideas. It's very nice, to have that sense of this and that.
It didn't start out that way for me. But I'm hearing you. I had a longing for belonging. But it didn't work out. As a kid, it already didn't work out. Because I was brought up Catholic, and as a little girl, I must have already been in this meditative inquiry. That was like sitting spontaneously in my room, inquiring into a question like, what is holy? Because I needed to know this. And nowadays I would say I was dwelling in this question, but at that time I wouldn't have the words for that. And so I came up with, after days coming back, I went to school or whatever I needed to do, and dinner with my parents, or, having a mess in my room, my mother being angry. That was the life. That inquiry kept going on, and then at some point, this little girl understood that everything is holy. If you look at every little piece in your room or the bird out there, suddenly this being me knew, oh, everything is holy. And that didn't comply with what I was taught in church.
As I'm listening to you, I have a feeling moved from that sense of, as you're referring to this, you say this little girl, the spirit of inquiry. And I find something very moving about the little girl trying to figure it out. And when I was a kid, I certainly did not have any sense of myself as being spiritual in any possible way. Mm-hmm. But the kid who is what I really relate to, with a sense of trying to make sense of things, not in a conscious way. It's hard. It's not like I wouldn't, but there's a way in which it feels very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm trying to find words for it. Like without getting to it, not having, taking the sense that if only I could sit or, stay or think long enough, it would all make sense.
Oh, yeah.
The hope, the longing that there was a way in which it would.
Yeah, yeah. So that was with you when you were a boy.
Yeah.
That longing, if you would sit or long enough or think long enough, that it would all make sense.
And at the same time, not sitting long enough or thinking long enough about it.
Uh-huh.
So in a way, it's like almost like if I wanted to, I could fly, but never testing it, so that there is a sense of the possibility to fly. But if you test it, you're going to be proven wrong. So, it's kind of kind of that longing there.
Yeah.
But not the practice of it.
Okay. So also, okay, in a way there was a longing in you to find that sense, and at the same time there was something in you that was a little scared of testing it out, kind of?
Yeah, I didn't say that, but I'm stopping for a minute to, I said something like it, but I'm noticing that, I could see how you could summarize it this way. Just, it's funny because it's like when you put it this way, you're heightening the,
Just put
exactly
it
what
way.
I said. No, I know. Because I did say something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just asking, is this what I meant?
So stay with your meaning, please.
Yeah. I can't stay with it, but I'm jumping to something else.
Mm.
And I grew up French, and so speaking French, and then as an adult I speak English, So I know after I had been in this country, in the United States, for 5, 10 years, and as an adult, I became more interested in things spiritual and paid attention to it in a different way. And one day I noticed that the word God means something totally different for me than the French word Dieu.
Mm-hmm.
Because the context in which I experience God is my exploring these issues as an adult. And as a kid, Dieu was something a little mysterious. Intimidating, mysterious. I can't even find the words for it, but just it's like noticing the difference. I mean, I'd have to give a bunch of images about what it is, but like for instance, when I was growing up, when somebody died in a house, on the outside of the building, they would put black curtains.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which later, I didn't see. But
Mm-hmm.
so the black curtains and death
Mm-hmm.
are something that, I didn't quite relate to as a kid, except to know that exists. It's there, it's mysterious. I don't go into, those houses. So the concept of Dieu, God in French, is kind of similar, was kind of similar for me to that part, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that is another world, that I was raised as a secular humanist.
Mm.
But in a family where, on my mother's side, were a lot of people who were kind of primitive and superstitious and religious in a superstitious way.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's kind of a sense of separation, different world. So, what was it? What is it that we started to talk about?
It was the belonging.
The belonging.
And
yeah.
I had been saying back something in a way which didn't quite feel comfortable to you, but almost as if you were not quite sure.
Right.
And it was about the longing to belong, but also, not being swallowed up by belonging into one place, but...
So the belonging part, is, I grew up in a culture where people were part of a religion, and I was not.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a sense of not belonging. There's a sense of, in a way, from my father's side, a superiority about not belonging.
Right.
That, but a lacking of belonging.
So it was a superiority for you not to belong.
And also a loss.
A loss, both. And there was a different kind of belonging by being superior and belonging there.
Yes.
Okay, there is a difference how I experience not belonging.
Okay.
And maybe we can place it side by side.
Yes.
My upbringing, and this is so interesting, my upbringing was Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And secular, humanistic, even the words wouldn't have meant anything. It just was not where we were.
Mm-hmm.
But what shocked me out of belonging was my own inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, being born in a female body made me ask questions I guess I wouldn't have asked as a boy.
Mm-hmm.
like why wouldn't women go to the altar? Because I was very deeply religious. I wanted to become a priest. It was a very innocent wish.
Mm-hmm.
Very innocent, because it fit just, I felt I needed to inquire into these questions. And then I was told I would never be able to be a priest because I'm a girl, and it just didn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It wasn't an opposition, that was not coming to me. Or like this inquiry into what is holy is like, alright, so why do they talk about good and evil? I really needed to, I needed to dwell with these questions. And I wished there would have been a truly experientially spiritual priest who would understand a young person, even a child person, needing to inquire into these existential questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't.
Yeah.
There just wasn't. So I experienced a not belonging.
So I want to tell you the strands that I'm hearing.
All right.
There's one strand is a very, very basic sense of belonging, because your family is Catholic, you're part of the Catholic Church, you go there, there's not even any questions that there could be something else. So at that level, very basic belonging. Then the other strand is something that's the contrast between so much being drawn to religion, wanting to be a priest, and bang, told, no, you can't be a priest, you're a girl. And so, wow, I really want to, I can't. So very big opposition. Then there is another strand is, I am drawn to spiritual inquiry. What is holy? And I want to dwell in that. And there is a part where, in a way, even the question and the curiosity and the inquiry is a practice. So it is that, that little girl is living a practice of contemplation, meditation.
At that time,
it's like a koan for a little girl. What is holy? And she's kind of staying with that. And so in that sense, that little girl belongs in that world of spirituality. But on the other side, she doesn't, because she's experiencing it alone in that question, instead of being met by somebody who would be, not necessarily bringing answers, but simply validating that question, saying, wow, this is what we do, great. That's, kind of in a way, validating the practice.
Right, that wasn't exactly.
And so in that sense, just even having the practice feels like not belonging, because you're not met.
Exactly, it was like, my parents went to church, and I was going to church with them, and as if at the same time we didn't belong. We were, and then and the word opposition wasn't quite, I didn't feel it as an opposition. It was more despair. All right, why is this? I could not, it did not make sense to me. In the word of sensing, it just didn't ring true. I would take the courage as a little girl one Wednesday afternoon going to church and stand at the altar and wait whether God would punish me. Mm-hmm. Because women were not supposed to go to the altar, and God didn't punish me.
Right.
I knew something. There was a truth, and I couldn't communicate that truth. I knew that women can be at the altar, and that is perfectly all right. But that didn't have any resonance in what I was experiencing as part of where I should belong.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, I'm hearing a bunch of things. Mm-hmm. One is when you make the distinction between, you say not opposition, despair.
Yeah.
And I ask myself, what's the difference? And I say, okay, opposition is like there is an active discussion, an engagement. Right. And despair is you're all alone and not met, like alone in the desert.
Thank you. That helps. Yeah.
And then I hear the other part is you say, okay, I go to the altar and I stand in front of the altar, and in a way, if these guys are right, should be punished, and I'm not punished. So in a way, I have this deep understanding of what happens in the relationship with God in the religion, and in a way, God tells me that girls and women belong in there. So in that sense, again, you have that, but there's no way to have a dialogue. It's the, deaf and mute in terms of communicating. So the insight you have is for you, but there's the impossibility of connecting. And so that's where, again, maybe the sense of the despair, because there's nobody to meet you.
Right. And that's where I'm coming as if from the other side to a sense of not belonging than you did. Mm-hmm. But as if we are meeting in that not belonging.
Yes, yes.
But I felt I needed to give you my background because it's so completely different, but we are meeting in that space of not belonging.
Yes. And so my background includes that my father was raised as a Protestant and left, the church because he was a socialist and was a philosopher and didn't believe. My mother was raised a Jew in a very traditional, old-fashioned, family. But her father died when she was 3. She went to school with French-type education that was very, at the time, the teachers were very socialist, were very secular humanist. So for her, leaving religion and entering French culture was very liberating and growth. However, when I was born, my parents with the kids did not have a very straightforward way of dealing with, the complexities of our ethnic and religious background. So, we were just told, you're French and secular humanist. And the rest, not mentioned. But, all of my mother's family was very visibly not that. And, so there's a lot of stuff that was not handled, and so that the belonging part it was very important for me. In a way, the message from both my parents was European, secular, humanist, modern, progressive was good. Mm-hmm. So in a way, the wanting to belong was belonging to that. On the other hand, I could see some other people belong to churches and so on. So not belonging. I did not want to belong to the kinds of things that my mother's family was. But so there's kind of a sense of shame about it compared to the other values. On the other hand, I could see that some of them, I had an uncle who had a very comfortable link to that. And so envying the comfort of his being part of it. So, in that sense, the belonging is very complex for me and has very little to do with traditional spiritual stuff. It's really more of, psychologically, sociologically, the sense emotionally belonging, and almost separated from the spiritual part.
I understand. A later part in my life, I tried to belong to the left-wing movement in Germany. I left the church very early because my inquiries didn't fit in. So I sympathized with when I grew up. Later, I went to university and I made that shift to the left. And yeah, of course, I read Karl Marx and the early Paris manuscripts about alienation, and that made a lot of sense to me. Mm-hmm. And I became a feminist in tips, but I kept having this problem. And only talking now, I'm becoming aware. My inquiries kept me in a state not fitting in. Mm-hmm. I give you an instance, because I think this belonging thing is very important. Like, we were finding the first house for battered wives and children in Germany, and the first refuge, and they were talking about that women can come with their little daughters, but not with their sons, because we don't want any men in this house. And I just said, I just couldn't, my heart cringed, it's like, wait a minute. Are you saying that a woman who suffers from domestic violence cannot bring her baby son? I mean, you know what I mean? It's sort of, what is this? So eventually they could bring their baby boys, but I'm just giving you the problem with belonging that kept creeping up in my life. Or that the Marxist kind of organized people would say, oh, you're a feminist, you're not one of them, us, because I don't know this in English so well, because the proletariat, working for the proletariat, that is the real issue, and the women's question is secondary, so that's not important.
Yeah, it's a distraction.
Karl Marx, we read him in German because he wrote German, but again, my inquiry landed me in situations of not belonging in both quarters, by the way.
No, I mean, that's a situation I'm very familiar with, that part of the not belonging. I mean, which is interesting because I have a younger brother who's 3 years younger, and he became very young in his teenage years, a very involved Marxist. He was a Trotskyite. And the way he was the way people get into a religious conversion. Like, he was totally in a cult mode, and that was right, and that was it, and so on. And I grew up, I was born in 1952, so in 1968 I was 16, and there was the Paris thing in 1968. And so I was a little too young to be part of the students. If I had been 2 years older, I would have been. But still, in general, I was enthusiastic about it, but not, like part of the, there's always something that felt like, I can't quite be there. And envying in some level people who could be true believers, but not comfortable at all about
Yeah,
that.
I can relate to that very much so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you are also pointing to something that even being socialists, having these humanistic values, can have a religiousness in them.
Oh, yeah.
It's important in this context. And even some of the Marxist language about consciousness, I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering in terms of our conversation. So we came to the need to belong and the need to follow something in you that makes you realize I can belong. And for you it was also a longing to belong, and you can't quite belong.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe that's a good place. Maybe that's what we need to do right now. It's a good kind of a transition, is to bookmark where we are. And so my bookmarks, how surprise at how much we talked about belonging. Interesting curiosity and pleasure about the shades of differences of belonging, noticing the similarities and difference, and I find that very enriching in a way. It's like, okay, so, that experience for you, yeah, very well, yeah, this and this and this and that, instead of a category of, this is all about belonging or not belonging. So a lot of pleasure about little nuances, and feeling like there's so many more, coming up. If I try to relate this belonging to something about spirituality, again, seeing in lots of ways how it has nothing to do, or it's just, in a way, more social, emotional, connecting. But where I can find a connection is the envy of some people. Part of, in a way, how this project came about is a sense that I envy people who are true believers and who can feel that there is a God who's like this person, very specially interested in their survival, and they're in the hand of God, or if they pray, they have it, and that certainty, that safety that comes from that. And now, not thinking of safety as, something stupid, because it's not objectively there, but envying the kind of resource that it is to help you go through the anxieties and difficult moments of life. So in a way, how can you have the effect of belonging in a world that has a benevolent God when you don't? It's kind of so that's kind of my bookmark.
Yeah. Yeah. And you helped me to see or name a red thread in my life more clearly, and that is the red thread of inquiry. That inquiry was what threw me out of belonging, because something in me needed to inquire. And if I stay with that truth, that's the truths that keep coming up, I can't belong. So thank you. It makes me, I don't know, brings something into awareness I wasn't quite so clear about.
Yeah.
This is part of the Active Pause podcast at activepause.com.